I learned a new chess opening from Gotham Chess's chess learning platform known as Chessly. Welcome to round 4 of the tournament. Until now, I was at 3 out of 3 points. And I was paired playing white against the top seed of the tournament, rated 1954 FIDE. The game started with the Rui Lopez opening with bishop to b5. This is the opening I was talking about. My opponent played knight to f6, after which I castled, seemingly giving up my e4 pawn. My opponent gladly captured, but at what cost? I played rook to e1, pinning the knight to the pawn behind it, and my opponent had to move behind and attack my bishop. Here, to Levy's recommendation was to capture the pawn on e5. This bishop may look like it's hanging, but then there's a discovered check on the black king, and the queen is gone. Therefore, black had to capture, and an exchange of knights took place. Black played bishop to e7, safeguarding his king. Now, Levy explained in the course that bishops are more valuable than knights in most cases and advised to preserve the bishop by pulling it back to f1. After black secured their king, d4 was played. Now, the white minor pieces are ready to come out. Here, black played bishop to f6. This move is covered in the course. And here, Levy offers a unique solution. He sacrifices the rook for the exchange, for the bishop. But what does sacrificing the exchange lead to? Well, my opponent here thought for 10 minutes. But can't black just take the rook? Well, that's what happened in the game. Black took my rook. But what if black tries rook to e8? Well, then I'll give my rook up again. If bishop takes, pawn takes. And this knight is gone. It's been trapped by this lethal bishop and pawn combo. Therefore, my opponent had a long thought and decided to capture my rook, after which I took back instantly. Now, the knight is forced back to this passive e8 square. Meanwhile, my pieces are ready to launch an attack on the white king. Here, Levy recommended knight to c3, after which the line ended. So, Levy's Gotham Chess's opening recommendations have gotten me to a decent position where I can attack the black king, and my opponent has been taken by surprise. In the course, Levy said that a combination of these moves is good to attack the black king. But here I was slightly worried. My pieces are ready to pounce on the black king. But here, during the game, I felt slightly worried because this pawn is a main element of the attack on black's king, but it looks a bit weak, doesn't it? D6 and f6 could be played to target the pawn, which could be further attacked by a rook or the queen. However, in this position, black played queen to e7, which is a huge, huge blunder. I thought about attacking the queen here, but after queen takes, I just couldn't find what to do. As it turns out, the best move is the insane bishop to f4, which was extremely hard to spot. Believe it or not, this queen right here is totally trapped. Black has captured the knight, after which this discovered check will lead to the winning of the queen and subsequently the game. But what if black doesn't take and moves back? Well, then queen to h5, threatening checkmate. If something like g6 is played, queen to h6. And guess what? My bishop is coming to the g5 square, after which my knight will land on the f6 square. All in all, black is totally cooked here due to the weakness of these dark squares. However, due to me not calculating forcing moves after queen to e5, which we all should strive to do, I settled with queen to h5, which Stockfish on Leeches calls a blunder because I missed an almost winning position. But this is a decent move, planning to checkmate the white king, the black king. Here my opponent found g6, which may look like an okay move, but in reality, I felt like it was very weakening because now these dark squares look extremely weak. If my bishops land on if my bishop lands on the h6 square, I can take advantage of the position of the king. Here my opponent correctly played the move d6, challenging this powerful pawn in the center. What would you play in this position to retain this pawn's prime position? Think about it. I settled with pawn to f4, which is a mistake by the engine, but practically it's a really good move. That's what I feel like. Now, my opponent played bishop to e6. I was worried about captures, captures, and then bishop to f5. And upon seeing that, I considered bishop to c4, followed by bishop to h6, trying to attack the king. I would have brought my rook into the game. However, this did not happen. Bishop e6, and then my other bishop came out. And in this position, I was really scared what would happen if I cannot launch an attack. I thought to myself, there are so many pieces around the black king. All of them are slowly getting active. So are my pieces, but remember, black is an exchange up. They have a rook for a bishop. Anyways, I got my bishop out because I knew that development is the most important thing while attacking. After f6 was played to further dislodge the pawn, I played rook to e1, which I considered to be a good find by me, and it's one of the best moves. But am I not just losing the pawn? Well, after the trades, this pawn becomes really weak, and I thought that after bishop to h6, I'm completely winning because I didn't see queen c5. I calculated knight to g2, queen captures e5, and after a move to defend the bishop, knight here, and I'm winning. That's what I thought, because the bishop can take, the queen is gone. However, just as I was about to pick up the bishop and place it on h6, I realized that after bishop h6, queen c5, and after the king moves, I thought that after rook to f2, I'm in trouble. Now the engine says that I can trade queens and win a pawn, but practically I found it hard to believe that this position was a draw, as Stockfish suggests, because I'm down a rook for a bishop and a pawn, and black's pieces are about to get active really quickly. I did not play that, and I played an inferior move, bishop f2. But again, this is an example of why we shouldn't over rely on the engine while analyzing. My plan was to bring the bishop out to g3 and to safeguard this diagonal while revealing an attack on the e5 pawn. So then my opponent played queen to f7. Hmm, it looks like a decent move, doesn't it? Queen captures, I lose the bishop. Hmm, but here I realized this king and the queen are on the same diagonal. Look at this battery. It could potentially apply pressure along this diagonal. I asked myself, how can my least active piece or one of my least active pieces move forward into the opponent's position? And I saw knight to e4, which I considered for a brief moment. My plan was, let's say black just plays a random move. I'm going to fork the bishop and the queen, and after this series of captures, the queen is lost. Or so I thought. Then I realized that there's knight to d6, and after this, there's no bishop to c4 due to the cover of the knight. Okay, so knight e4 doesn't really work. Wait, this rook looks like it's kind of trapped. I thought for a long time here. How about bishop to c5? Turns out it's the best move, which the engine recommends. Hmm, I saw knight to d6, which is practically a good move. But then I thought to myself, what now? How do I respond now? Black's rook is about to join the game. I'm in trouble. Without calculating, I just captured the pawn on e5. But then I realized, it dawned upon me that after rook to e8, which I evaluated to be better than black, I have this move, bishop to d4, a backwards bishop move threatening checkmate, which cannot be stopped. For example, Black needs to sacrifice a piece to prevent getting checkmated. So this is completely winning for white. My opponent realized his king had to get out of this corner and played rook fe8. And after I moved my bishop back, keep in mind there are no discovered attacks because there's just a checkmate there. My king, my opponent started running with his king. Here I was evaluating a few moves. Knight to e4, but I realized that a trade wouldn't be very good for me. Then I was looking at queen to h8, but the king starts running away. This is what I looked at. Check here. But then what do I do? It can go here, the king can go here. What do I do? I'm in trouble. There are no good moves I could there were no good moves I could see from this position. I settled on I settled with rook to f1, pinning the queen to the king. And my opponent played the best move, bishop to f5. What would you play in this position? The queen is being attacked. First, I considered queen to d5, offering a trade. After the trade, my plan is to play g4 and win the bishop. Keep in mind that this c7 pawn is also being attacked, threatening to fork both the rooks. I felt like this dual threat was pretty good for me. But black doesn't have to take back. It's chess, not checkers. I realized that black can simply play rook to rook a d8, bringing all five pieces into the game. And here it felt like I was in trouble. Therefore, instead of offering a queen trade, I played queen to c4, c5, keeping the queen away from the vision of the black queen. And after b6, I played queen to c6. We are now moving into a critical phase of the game. I've just played queen to c6, realizing that the squares around black's king are extremely weak. My plan, knight d5 and knight f6, or I can even capture the pawn on c7. This dual threat caused my opponent to panic, who played king to g8. But then I pounced with my knight. Well, I was initially hesitant on playing this move because I thought that after bishop to d7, let me show you the line. Rook captures, bishop captures. I thought that these two pieces are attacked and I must be losing here because I will at least lose one of them. However, I was mistaken. After bishop to d7 was played in the game, I became excited. I instantly took the queen on the f7 square, and after my opponent hesitantly captured the queen on the c6 square, I played an intermediate move, or also known as an intermezzo. Rook to g7 check. Now, if black's king goes to h8, I have a very fun windmill tactic. Rook captures, it's a check. It's a check again. Check again. The king, if it goes to h8, it's a problem because eventually I'll just win the bishop and the game. So my opponent realized this and played king to f8 instead after rook to g7. Here I calmly captured the pawn on c7, threatening both rooks at the same time, forking them. The rooks are in trouble, the king is in trouble, and black's position is falling apart. At this stage, I knew that I was better. After knight to f5, I traded and then captured the rook. Here my opponent tried a trick. He played rook e1 and then threatened this bishop. So if I would get greedy, and let's just say I would not think much about it and try to escape with the knight, the bishop would be lost and the rook would be hanging too. But I won't fall for these tricks. Bishop to c3, defending the rook and safeguarding it from the attack of the black rook. It's best to be careful when you are completely winning in a position because good opponents will try tricks against you. My opponent captured the knight, and although the position may look equal, with me being just up one pawn, I took a pawn and then another one. This king is restricted on the 8th rank. Here I played rook to b6, b7, threatening to win another pawn, and after my opponent desperately played rook to d6, hoping for a draw, bishop to b4 sealed the deal. my opponent threw in the towel because this rook is gone. After my opponent resigned, he asked me, "Have you seen that exchange sacrifice in the opening before?" And I told my opponent, "Yes, I've seen it before in Gotham Chess's course on Chessly. Therefore, I recommend all of you to learn openings from Chessly." Thanks for watching the video. Train to win. Bye.